tear down the house, then you put up the rent. You pocket the cash, and you crush all dissent.
Congratulations! You've made it to episode 10 of the Red Diaper Pail. A pod.
If you listen to them all back to back to back to back.
That's how people like to consume content.
Oh yeah, it's a binge situation.
Maybe you have a basement organization project you've been trying to get to and you need 10 to 15 hours of content. But this is a podcast about art, culture, history, politics, technology, and parenting from a left perspective. I'm Simone.
And I'm John Paul.
And we are recording on November 19th, 2025. And like I said, it is our 10th podcast. I have gotten John Paul the traditional gift of tin or aluminum.
I thought this wine tasted weird.
No, I'm going to get you a tin red diaper pail.
Oh, okay.
To put on your desk.
That's great.
I don't know that I'm going to do that, but I can look on Etsy for one later.
That's cute.
So tonight, I have a few headlines ranging from Gaza to South Carolina. And Jean Paul, you're bringing us an artifact.
I am. I'm bringing you an artifact from Current Affairs asking, why has the New York Times never seen a war they didn't want to wage?
Great. I'm looking forward to that. And hopefully we can drive up some free memberships to Current Affairs from our podcast.
Yeah, it would be worth it all if we could do that.
Okay.
Also, your New York Times subscription, you get a free subscription to Current Affairs.
Yes, and tell them that the Red Diaper Pail sent you.
Yeah. Maybe Nathan Robinson will come.
Maybe we can get a partnership deal.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm speaking of, if you are a musician and you have music you'd like featured on the podcast, please reach out and let me know.
Also, subscribe and like and comment on the corporate platforms that are hosting our content, please.
Yes, that's very helpful.
It's very good for us, and makes John Paul very happy.
It does. It gives my little dopamine hit of the day every time someone does this.
Once a day. Okay. So for our headlines this week, here's what I got. So the New York Times headline on this, I think, was breaking news. UN adopts U.S. peace plan in Gaza. But I think if we're being a little bit more critical of our assessment, it'd be more appropriate to say UN Security Council votes to effectively allow the U.S. to have total control over Gaza.
Yep.
So what's happened there is the peace plan that we are familiar, the peace quote, scare quotes, peace plan that we're familiar with from Trump was approved by the UN Security Council, and therefore they have authorized the International Stabilization Force in Gaza. And under this resolution, Gaza will be effectively stripped of any Palestinian sovereignty, with the ISF, this International Stabilization Force, controlling both security and governance for the next 2 years. They aim to disarm Hamas, control the borders, and, quote, train and support, end quote, a new Palestinian police force. A, quote, board of peace will also be established, with Trump acting as the chair. Not little British man, Tony Blair.
Only Trump.
Trump is the chair.
Interesting.
The board would be tasked with overseeing the reconstruction of Gaza and managing the local governance of the Strip. So, horrible headline.
Yeah, one thing that's horrible about this is China and Russia abstained. They could have blocked this if they wanted to.
Interesting
that they decided not to do that. Not the human right capitals of the world that people want to pretend that they are.
I'm pretty sure no one's pretending that. Well, maybe there are some people pretending that, but we don't. Russia is not. No one's pretending.
Not Russia,
no one's pretending Russia's.
A lot of people are happy to support Russia as a geopolitical counterweight to the United States.
I understand that. They seem to have failed to be one in this case.
Yeah, but a lot of people are like, "Oh, China's on the right side of this," but I think only to the extent that they could embarrass the United States were they interested in being on the right side of this.
Hamas has said that this imposes an international guardianship mechanism of the Gaza Strip. They obviously reject it. They also say it was not in keeping with what some of the agreements that were previously made.
I mean, they made a deal with the devil, so the devil is going to do what the devil's going to do.
And this was earlier this week. Oh, I guess it was just yesterday. Time. But I saw a headline today that there was Israel set fire to homes beyond the yellow line. So in areas that are supposed to definitely be managed by the ceasefire. So there's continued non-ceasing of fire that continues to be problematic. Right? There's escalated violence continued in the West Bank. And now we have these major international bodies essentially installing the United States as the governing force of this land.
Yeah. So I think this is like the final solution. For one thing, there's a huge amount of oil that was discovered off the coast of Gaza right before all this started, which everyone is very, very interested in getting. And I think for some reason, the leaders of the population of Gaza thought that this was sort of sent by God to free them of this horrible situation, is that now they have money like Saudi Arabia and Venezuela, etc. But there was never any hope that they were actually going to be able to use any of this oil. So that's a big part of it, is control of that. And the other thing is, I think Trump probably is very, very interested in moving that entire population out and making $1 bazillion rebuilding it as like a new Riviera type situation.
He was very straightforward. He said he doesn't hide this stuff. He said that months ago.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, it's so insensitive to talk about doing that." And then he went forward and did it, and the UN stamped it.
Yeah. I think the other thing that's going to be an important part of this is because Israel and the politics is so dug in their heels on this issue that they think people the only way through this conflict is to sort of brainwash Palestinians. So a big part of this is going to be educating, quote unquote, beyond Palestinians not to hate Israel. They're not your enemy after all. I'm not sure how you do that after what we just witnessed, but good luck to them. I think the most Palestinians will probably be moved carte blanche off the land like as soon as possible.
Also notable, this international stabilization force is not at all governed by the protocols of the UN. So they've okayed it as a thing, they've supported it, but they're very clearly saying this is not ours, which means that I don't think there are rules. I don't think there is governing procedure or protocol for.
I mean, none of these people have ever followed the rules for the subject of ISO.
That's true.
One interesting,
relatively unprecedented kind. I mean, this is a made up thing that's been happening for Gaza.
Yeah, I mean, they did a similar thing right after the
Afghanistan
in Iraq fell. But I don't know that. Like again, that was like a civil servant who took over.
How did that go?
Oh, really good. Really, really well. One question I have is, what happens is Trump going to do anything if Israel kills this police force?
The one he's training?
Shrinks the territory, shrinks the yellow line,
I don't know, we'll see.
Attacks the border crossings that Trump is supposedly in charge of now. I think that Hamas basically got to the point where anything to stop the bloodletting we will do as long as we have a reasonable guarantee the mass slaughter is going to stop. Which is frankly rich from them, because they should have thought of that before they pursued the strategy they did. But I think they think if Trump is there, then you couldn't possibly attack. But I'm not sure that's true. I think he probably would call anything that Israel did like a joint, military action.
Probably.
Police the strip. So
I mean, I do think that he's irritated with Netanyahu, and I do think they're trying to control him. I also think Trump's going to lose interest at some point. He's just going to put his people in charge, and they're going to work more traditionally. With
I mean, I agree with that. There's a lot of money to be made. A lot of money.
And Jared Kushner's right there.
Yeah, he's the big builder of the administration. So
he's kind of like the Lego guy.
Yeah, he's a Lego guy. He likes to build things.
Master builder.
There are real fears on the part of Arabs, and I'm sure you talk to a lot of them, who think once Gazans leave Gaza, Netanyahu's never going to let them back in.
Maybe, but I'm not sure there's much left of Gaza at this point. I mean, Gaza's waterfront property. It could be very valuable to if people would focus on kind of building up livelihoods. You think about all the money that's gone into this tunnel network and into all the munitions. If that would have gone into education or innovation, what could have been done? And so I think that it's a little bit of an unfortunate situation there. But I think from Israel's perspective, I would do my best to move the people out and then clean it up. But I don't think that Israel has stated that they don't want the people to move back there afterwards.
All right. So this one's actually more horrifying, honestly.
No.
I mean, I don't know if it's
Really?
more horrifying. I find it more horrifying maybe because of it feels closer to home.
Okay.
And also like the carnage of Gaza, the administration of the quote unquote ceasefire. It seems,
Game in comparison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know what's happening in South Carolina this week?
I don't.
Okay. A bunch of white men, the lawmakers of South Carolina,
Mm-hmm.
are holding a hearing on a bill that would imprison people for up to 30 years for having an abortion or for anyone who helps someone to get an abortion. Among other things, the bill bans all abortion except for cases in which the pregnant person's life is at risk. It eliminates the exceptions for rape and incest, levels up to 30 years in prison for those who get an abortion or help someone get an abortion, bans contraception that prevents a fertilized egg from implanting, for example, an IUD.
What the fuck? And I guess the day after pill as well.
And it outlaws providing certain information about abortions. I saw a photo of the people, the 9 members who are on the subcommittee, all men, all white guys. And they were going on about it today. Not hopefully, I don't know what the outcome will be, but by the time this airs, there probably will be an outcome. It's one of the most conservative bills to ever be considered. It's so conservative, I read that some pro-life groups are actually like distancing themselves from it.
It's making us look bad. Why are you doing this?
It's very dangerous though, because these things, I mean, Texas has extreme laws on the books and those are having real effect on people and they have for years.
Yep.
So.
Yep. I mean, in a political climate where you become politically interesting and noteworthy, particularly on the right, by stirring up a shitstorm and making a bunch of liberals mad, the only choice is to escalate. And I'm sure there's plenty of people who like think that if you think abortion is murder, it follows then that you would be punished like a murderer for doing it or participating in it. So I'm sure there's some true believers that are about this, but all these promises about we're not going to rape and incest are going to be exceptions, and we're not going to imprison the women, just the doctors, all that stuff. You can't, once you win that fight, you have to keep finding something else to make a big splash. So
I mean, yeah, I think it's particularly galling to see this one go forward. So, there was a batch of these that went forward when Roe fell. Mm-hmm. And we now have data coming out of those states about the impact of these extremely draconian abortion laws. And, it's devastating. You have much higher rates of maternal death. You have much higher rates of unwanted pregnancy. Mm-hmm. You have horrible anecdotes of people who are having miscarriages and can't get treatment. You have horrible anecdotes of people who have had miscarriages and are criminalized. It seems to me that this is not politicians being like, how do I get my bang for my buck and get the attention of the most conservative people to vote for me? I think this is politicians saying that we hate and distrust women and we will control them by ensuring that their reproductive lives are entirely owned by us. And anyone who's doing anything to change that, whether it be providing contraceptives or providing some material support to deal with an unwanted pregnancy, we will do everything we can to ruin their lives so they don't help people.
Yeah.
I think people know exactly what they're doing.
Yeah. I mean, they certainly don't care about who's hurt by this. I mean, there's long-term impacts which they're interested in. They want the birth rate to go up, especially the white birth rate. But I think anyone who's not immigrant, they want that birth rate to go up because those people they need to fight a war against China. And the birth rate is declining without immigration. So I think they want like a nativist reclamation. They want women in the home. One very nice way to do that is to force them to have children that they don't want to have. That gets them out of the workforce.
I think that in the case of wanting to raise the birth rate and raise the army to fight China and keep the women home, you might consider making sure those people have nutritional assistance and health insurance,
right,
rather than cutting it.
Right. I mean, this is they don't want to spend money making it attractive. So what they want to do is make the consequences so unattractive that you kind of force
to do it anyways.
Yeah. And this is the fascist mindset that has taken over this movement is if something bad happens to you, you deserve it. And that extends to crazy things. Like if you're captured as a prisoner of war, you probably deserved it. If you died in combat, you probably deserved it.
Are people saying that?
Trump has said this. Trump, McCain was a loser because he was captured. I support the winners who aren't captured. And it extends to if you have premarital sex and you get pregnant, you deserve every horrible thing that happens to you. You deserve to die in childbirth. You deserve to have a baby you can't afford to feed. And that outcome is great to them because what it does is it reinforces the very traditional vision of the family, which they are very eager to bring back.
Yeah. Well, it's a very concerning one. It's these types of laws and this one's the most extreme, but these types of laws that are on the books in other states, to me, it's one of the ways to draw out the borders for a civil war or to have major civil strife, to have areas of the country where women can get adequate medical care, or doctors who believe in providing medical care can do so. Or like there's a whole swaths of professions who, if you're in South Carolina or some of these other states,
Basically have to move.
You can't do it ethically. You can't do it the way you want to do it. It's driving those people out. I don't know how you'd exist as a social worker in those states. I wouldn't travel in those states as a pregnant person. I can't travel in those states as a person who's worked on abortion funds.
Yeah.
I think this is a particular issue that could create like some long-term divisions in the country that actually change like population and demographics and where professionals can and do operate.
Yeah, where you can travel for conferences, things like that.
Sure.
But that's only until they manage to make these things.
Well, right now it's very state by state, which of course,
But
and that's also what the conservatives and Republicans will tell you they prefer. I don't think this one will flip all the way nationally.
I mean, Charlie Kirk felt that abortion was worse than the Holocaust. He said that on multiple occasions.
That's absolutely irrational.
So I can't. Anyone who tells you that it's
a
worse than the Holocaust,
it's a propagandistic bullshit line. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, if you believe these are all people, then
we're talking about fertilized eggs. In order to get to the numbers that they want to use, we're talking about literally like fertilized like 12 hours ago and trying to implant itself.
Right.
And can't because of some hormonal birth control.
Right. And if you believe that that's a person, or you want to pretend that that's a person, you can't pretend that it's a person in South Carolina, but it's not in New York or California.
But I think what's likely to happen is more it goes state by state, and you create enclaves. You're going to have the New England enclave. We already have this to some extent of where you can and cannot travel, where you can and cannot receive care, who lives there, what doctors are willing to be in which places. It's just going to get more extreme.
Yeah. I think a national breakup is not impossible. I think what's more likely is we limp along in this matter, but it's not off the table that the Supreme Court just says this is murder.
I mean, I suppose so. It's not off the table, and I don't think people understand how difficult it would be for a population to support massive enforcement of that type of these types of laws. What it actually does to women and their families and their communities and their economies when you Handmaid's Tale the fucking laws.
I would submit to you that one of their major concerns is that people are too healthy, too independent, have too high expectations about the salaries that they command and the amount of work they have to do to get those salaries, and working from home and entitlement to go to college and all those things. I would submit to you that part of this fascist thing is you all are talking about how the world is not fair and how there's all these things that other places have that you don't have because you are spoiled brats, and you need to all be taught a lesson that your ability to have a desk job that pays you enough to afford rent and food is a gift that we've bestowed upon you. And we are now going to roll all that stuff back.
Yeah.
You're going to have to be desperate enough to pick the strawberries and work in the factories and all of these things that you thought you were too good for. And part of doing that is going to be policing like sexual mores and family mores and who has access to college, all these things. I don't think they can run the society that they want to run with 80% of women thinking they should be able to go get a degree and then work in like an advanced economic situation. I think they want most of those people to be like, I will be happy if I have a job at all.
I don't disagree that this is part of fascism and that disciplining their workforce is a necessary thing that needs to happen. I don't know if you look at the Venn diagram of the people pushing for these laws and the people pushing for disciplining the workforce. Obviously, there's a lot of people in the middle, like policymakers and politicians and corporate overlords that actually are in the overlapping part of the circle. There's a lot of people on the pro-life right that I don't think that they understand that's what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that they understand the ramifications of this level of law.
I agree.
I also think that these bills are always test cases to be like, can we get one this extreme through? And then there will be copycat states.
Right.
And I do think and they're seeing it. This one feels extreme, so much so that you have pro-life groups that are not necessarily full-throatedly backing it. And you also, it raises eyebrows where people are like, wait a second, maybe I do believe abortion is murder. But wait, this law feels like it's punishing me. This law feels like it's punishing people.
Yeah.
When you don't actually care about, like, food stamps working. So I hope that I hope they fly too close to the sun and it wakes people up a little bit about what these actually mean. It's hard to understand these things as not harmful, punitive, vindictive, and, like, honestly terrifying from a health and well-being point of view.
Yeah, a lot of those groups that are like, this is too far, even though we sort of agree with you, they're all freaked out by the blowback.
Yeah.
And the blowback, we were supposed to believe that the blowback from this was going to prevent the Trump presidency, and it did not. They had a bunch of electoral success, the Democrats, right after this happened, and they did not pursue it. And you have to ask why. Did they not pursue this as a main talking point?
Oh, yeah. Good question. Why?
And the blowback sort of fizzled, and it really never materialized into something that was robust enough to make people freaked out. So I think they go, is this too far? And, like, you're right, if it passes, and then there's a bunch of whining in the press, right, and a bunch of angry voters, but then it fizzles, they go, okay, I guess it wasn't that far. It wasn't too far. We'll go until there's, people who are marching the streets. And, you might have expected, I think people who lived through the 60s and 70s and had lived in a pre-Roe era expected there to be a lot more anger when it got overturned than there was, frankly.
Yep.
And now we have another Trump presidency. So was that really the major issue? These people, the other thing I want to say is these people always exist. Like, whatever issue you want to push forward, there's some fanatic in state politics who doesn't understand how any of this is connected.
Right.
Never had an original thought. What you do is you bring them up to the national stage when you're ready for that particular issue.
They're like a dog with a bone on that issue. They don't actually understand what they're part of.
It would be very easy for the Republican Party to push them to the sideline and pick another issue that they wanted to be front and center. And I think, they have the strategy of, like, this guy's been consistent on this for 50 years and he's dumber than a golden retriever. Fine. But someone has decided that this is going to be the bill that's in South Carolina right now. So we'll see. We'll see.
All right. Well, that was a horrible headline. Hopefully when you're listening to this, the bill will not have gone through. But, keep an eye out, y'all. Okay. So the other horrible headline is on the great national holiday that is Red Cup Day. I'm sure you're familiar.
I am not familiar with Red Cup Day.
Oh, this is when Starbucks launches its holiday cup.
Oh, right, of course. Okay.
And it gets very excited.
I've heard that is there something about a plastic teddy bear? Is that a thing?
A plastic teddy bear?
Yeah, everyone's like wrestling each other to the ground over these plastic teddy bears.
Oh, I don't
run
know.
out like within an hour or something.
I don't know about that. I do know that as a former Starbucks barista, there's a lot of Starbucks propaganda about the holiday decor and the new holiday drinks and the red cups, and then they would have limited edition items because, but I'm sure there's a teddy bear. I don't know.
I do like me a caramel brulee latte.
I know you get your caramel brulee latte, but you don't get it because that would be crossing the picket line.
Yes, I will not be doing it while there's this drink.
In 2025, on the Red Cup Day, the Starbucks Workers United, the Starbucks Union, which is pretty young, started a strike and be asked for a boycott of Starbucks stores.
That's when you boycott people, when the union asks you to.
If there's a boycott requested by the workers, don't march your ass into a Starbucks right now.
All the other stupid boycotts that people tell you to do, those are not worthwhile. The one time you actually do it is when the workers unionizing asks you to do it.
That's right. So we got a Starbucks boycott starting on November 13th, More than 1,000 Starbucks workers have been on strike in more than 40 cities since November 13th. They are mostly organizing for better wages. Our bright star Zoran Mondani,
Your boy.
has backed the strike and said, don't get your fucking Starbucks right now. Just don't do it. You can't do it. Go to Dunkin'. Go to the bodega. Do not go to Starbucks right now.
Can you imagine how pathetic the Democratic Party has to be, which accepts millions of dollars from unions every single election cycle, that it's notable that Mamdani is supporting a strike? Fucking pathetic is it?
I'll say it again. Democrats love to be losers. And that might be my tagline.
Why would you, if you're a union, why would you give them money at this point? I mean, what is the point of that investment? Stop giving your money to
the unions that you're talking about,
right,
are a different animal altogether.
I agree with it. But still, I mean, even them.
Starbucks would like you to know that the coffee shops are, in fact, still open.
Okay.
But you should not go to them. And
can I steal a creme brulee latte? Is that crossing the picket line?
You may steal a caramel brulee latte.
Okay.
I don't know. Is stealing crossing the picket line?
I can't imagine it is, because it doesn't help their bottom line. But you can't steal from a Starbucks very easily because you have to pay before they make it. So you have to like climb back there.
It's very easy to steal. You just take one. You just take a drink off of the.
You wait until a caramel latte comes up on the counter, and you take.
Yeah.
You take Jessica's.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how many people actually get caramel brulee lattes, but there's lots of nice options these days. They have a whole protein line now of coffees.
Protein line?
High protein coffees.
All right, they're not paying us to advertise, but it's not gonna.
No, I mean, this is the protein. The protein industry has taken over.
It's pretty funny to use the drink pickup area as like a buffet. What do I want today?
Do you think they would notice if you spend too much time there? I always order to the wrong Starbucks, and I do end up standing there way too long. So I'm usually like, what do I ask them? Maybe they forgot. Do they forget? Why is it taking 10 minutes? Why is it taking 15 minutes? You know what? I probably just got this wrong. I'll leave.
Stop you from doing that. I mean, if you go in during a busy time and you grab
they
a drink,
don't.
there's absolutely no way.
People have been stealing drinks off of Starbucks counters for years.
Okay. Well, steal a Starbucks drink. That's the endorsement. This podcast tells you do not buy anything from Starbucks, but you should steal a drink off the thing.
And if you're local to Jean Paul and you happen to get caramel brulee, drop it on off.
Drop it off.
All right. Well, power to the people on this Starbucks strike.
I hope they go out of business.
Just to be clear, the striking workers are not hoping Starbucks goes out of business. They have a lot of nice talking points about how much they do want Starbucks to exist. They would just like to be paid for.
Just like to share some of the profits with the people who actually take the profits.
Honestly, the Starbucks is run by a horrible guy.
Okay.
All right, those are your horrible. I guess this ending on a strike is not a horrible headline.
It's not too bad.
All right, Jean Paul.
All right.
Take us to your artifact.
The largest, most modern aircraft carrier in U.S. history, the Gerald F. Ford,
is a clunker.
It's a piece of shit. Who would have thought that the process by which the U.S. government purchases an aircraft carrier from private corporations at astronomical prices would produce a aircraft carrier where the toilets don't flush? I cannot have predicted that.
I hear that it's got nuclear power, and it's like that also. Toilets not flushing, we can get by with, but apparently the nuclear powered elements are also fucked up.
Malfunction. It's like leaking the nuclear material or something.
Yeah.
Is that what it is? Yeah. So anyway, the most advanced aircraft carrier in U.S. history,
right? The Ford, is been deployed off the coast of Venezuela. Oh, they put that thing off the coast?
They put that.
Does it have a flag above that says like this thing's a lemon?
Interestingly, Maduro sent a letter. Washington Post is reporting sent a letter to Russia and Iran and China asking for military assistance because he's expecting to be invaded. So
Is that you have to do it? You have to do a letter. Is that
you do a
that the
letter, I guess. I'd
protocol?
like to see how. I'd like to see how the Washington Post got the letter.
he can't? That's not a telegraph.
They got the letter from Russia, the one to Russia, which revealed that they were also asking Iran and China. So it might
Like a CC, but in
CC.
physical format.
accidentally, yeah, something like that. So they certainly are expecting. So anyway, yeah, this is the anti-war president is very obviously building towards a military conflict with Venezuela. It was also reported a few weeks ago, which I think we reported on, that they had
I think calling anything we do reporting is a little strong.
that we read had been reported on and then told you all that the CIA had been authorized to operate in Venezuela, and now Trump is saying that out loud, that they're authorized to do stuff in Venezuela. So
I didn't have war with Venezuela on the Trump bingo card.
no, although in retrospect,
It seems
probably
so
should.
ridiculous to fuck with Venezuela. To have a war with Venezuela
Well, I think it makes sense for them
because of the oil?
because of the oil, because it's in the Western Hemisphere, because the largest importer of Venezuelan oil in the world is China, because China is increasingly the rare earth minerals empire, in which case the United States really needs to be the oil empire.
I'm wondering then,
China can't get that oil without going to the United States.
then if China will show up with their clunker of an aircraft carrier.
They put a hospital ship off the coast of Nicaragua in September, which is not quite the same thing. But
Why? They put a water ambulance off the coast of a different country?
a hospital ship is not a water.
Tell me more. I have no idea what
Soft
this means.
power. It's a big old ship that can act as like a major hospital for a country that's like having a national disaster, for example.
So why'd they do that?
Soft power projection.
What's a soft power? You have to use words I understand.
No, sorry. So a warship is hard power projection. We're going to kill you if you don't do what we say. A soft power projection is dealing with us is so attractive that you have no choice but to be lulled in.
So they're cozying up to Nicaragua with healthcare.
I think to all of Latin America.
They're saying you could use our hospital ship, just be on our side.
Yeah.
That seems like a nicer way to do it.
Well, that is certainly what China advocates will tell you.
I'm in favor of healthcare.
I'm in favor of soft power over hard power. I think we don't.
Can you get an abortion at that hospital ship?
Probably.
That may or may not be a good way to cozy up to some Latin American nation.
I mean, China is also the largest trade partner of Latin America now. The old neocon internationalist capitalist wing understood the U.S. empire as extending across the entire globe. Like, they had inherited a global empire after the end of World War II, and they were hell-bent on keeping it. And a lot of that strategy focused on control of Middle East oil.
Sure.
If you've been paying attention, you might notice that there's been
That's where all the wars have been, yeah.
A lot of Middle East attention over the last 30 years.
That's the millennial war area.
Yeah. The Trump people see the world a little bit differently. I think they still are imperialists of a kind, but they're much more of a like, we are accepting a multipolar world where the Western Hemisphere is our backyard and Asia is China's backyard, and we love having them hemmed in and having like India there and Australia there, but we're really eager to police our own backyard in a much more aggressive way.
Well, it's certainly not new. It's not a new idea that that's our backyard.
Yeah,
that's an old idea.
Yeah, it's a Neo-Monroe doctrine thing.
Right.
And you know, this they've been trying to do regime change in Venezuela for decades as well. So it's not none of this is new, especially. But the focus, I guess, it's the quality of the focus is off, let's say, Syria and on to, let's say, Venezuela. So
sure.
Sort of this Fortress America idea. And they consider America to be Greenland to Chile. That's all of that is America. And they mean it's ours. So why is China have even any oil from that area?
It would be a better sort of phrase or plan words if they went with Iceland to Chile.
Iceland to Chile. Oh, because it's Chile?
Yeah. I mean, it's just they missed an opportunity there. So as the artifacts You telling us about this?
Yeah, so I'm going to explain to you how international politics. No, it is not. The artifact is the puzzling endorsement of the plan to overthrow Maduro through military intervention by the New York Times, of all places.
And what is puzzling about that?
Well, for one thing, it's Trump. For another thing, didn't we all learn this lesson already?
The New York Times loves to endorse a war.
They do. They really fucking do.
They do.
And I'm so sick of hearing how progressive and important it is as a newspaper when they are. I mean, they don't have any credibility left at all. They published an article about how the Epstein letters reveal a bygone era in New York.
Yeah.
What is it hanging out?
Yeah.
Like, are they insane?
Yeah, that's like jumping the shark here from the New York Times. Hey, New York Times, if you're listening, was there a war you were against? Ever?
I mean, it's not them, right? Because it's just a columnist that they're just publishing a columnist. It's not there.
Well, they seem to do that with their eyes and ears closed. They'll publish fucking anything, I guess, if their columnist submits it.
I guess.
Because I'm cheating, I'm somewhat aware of the artifact, but what was published by Brett Stevens is total. I mean, he didn't even try to make a case for invading.
Right, but that's the thing is they never really try. They what they want, I guess. Okay, so let's not get into it too much. So I'm not reading the New York Times because you've told me I'm not allowed to read op-eds in the New York Times.
And if you too want to cancel your New York Times membership, show proof to Current Affairs and you'll get a free 1-year digital subscription.
Yeah. Instead, I'm reading Nathan J. Robinson's commentary on the New York Times in Current Affairs entitled, "There Have to Be Consequences for Advocating Illegal Wars." I have bad news for you, Nathan. It's never going to happen. In early 2003, readers of the New York Times were treated to a column by resident foreign affairs expert.
Boo!
You can just hear Robinson's sarcasm there. Thomas L. Friedman, in which Friedman claimed that invading Iraq and overthrowing its government would be a useful, moral, and sensible thing to do.
What a piece of shit.
Friedman voiced some unease about the potential war and at one point wrote a column in the voice of an imaginary, quote, pro-American Arab leader, unquote, instead of asking a real Arab leader for an opinion.
It started like this. I was in a taxi in a city.
In my home city of Baghdad. Oh my God. To muse on the possibility of merely forcing Saddam Hussein into exile using the threat of war rather than actually waging a war.
Is that soft power or hard power projection?
That would be hard power.
I see. Okay.
But Friedman felt that a war with Iraq would be good, quote, shock therapy and would, quote, stimulate some real change in an Arab world that is badly in need of reform.
It's always best to have your metaphor be about electric shock therapy.
Yeah, no,
that's
what famously shock therapy is really good for the person.
It works really well, right?
Yeah. That's why I can see why I use that. Hundreds of thousands of fucking idiot. Hundreds of thousands of Iraqis would soon die from Friedman's recommended, quote, therapy, and the invasion of Iraq quickly became the worst crime of our century. As the war turned into a bloody catastrophe, rather than showing any contrition, Friedman accused France of, quote, becoming our enemy for having declined to support the atrocity.
Oh, you remember when we had to have freedom fries instead of French fries?
I do remember that.
Friedman didn't like that.
Yeah, people think that politics is stupid now. France should have been praised for its good sense and foresight. There was little accountability at the New York Times for publishing such a shameful propaganda for this terrible crime, which went well beyond Friedman's columns. The worst offender, reporter Judith Miller, was forced to leave the paper after publishing unverified stories on Iraq's alleged, quote, weapons of mass destruction.
Well, that would suggest there was a little bit of accountability.
Yeah, I would.
Nathan. But that we're not.
No, he said there was little accountability.
Okay,
so what he's saying is the absolute worst one.
He must have a better editor than Brett Stevens and Judith Miller.
So Judith Miller was forced to leave the paper after publishing unverified stories on Iraq's alleged, quote, weapons of mass destruction, reporting which the U.S. government used to bolster support for the war, which turned out to be false.
Right.
And I think, if I remember correctly, the White House fed leaks to Miller that this was true, and then used the newspaper reporting as evidence that it was true.
Yeah, that kind of cyclical bullshit is very that gets you in trouble.
Yeah.
Although it happens all the time. I'm sure they're leaking bullshit all the time. that quote unquote reporters pick up on and say.
Yeah.
She joins the ranks of First Amendment activists fired by the New York Times. She, Barry Weiss, you know.
Yeah. She probably have a great job lying at the Free Press. But Friedman continues to pump out vapid columns to this day, including outright racist flight of fancy last year, imagining different Middle Eastern populations as different members of the animal kingdom.
Oh my God, I missed that one.
Iranians were labeled parasitoid wasps.
He is incorrigible.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's better to pay a moron to tell what they think is the truth as to pay someone who knows what they're talking about to lie. I don't know why they just don't. There's got to be someone who knows anything about these.
I mean, again, maybe this is a perfectly good use case for ChatGPT.
Nor was there any hesitation about publishing calls to bomb or invade other countries. Subsequent years saw the publication of, quote, bomb North Korea before it's too late, and, quote, to stop Iran's bomb Iran, by John Bolton. The neoconservative columnist Bret Stephens has published many opinion pieces calling for or praising the bombing of Iran. Now, because this type of guy always needs a new war, he's turned to calling for attacking Venezuela and deposing its government. In January, Stephens published Depose Maduro, and now he's given us a repeat in The Case for Overthrowing Maduro. What's striking about Stephens' quote case for overthrowing Maduro is how thin it is. Stephens says that 1, the U.S. has a vital interest in seeing Maduro gone. That 2, there is no way other than war to dislodge Maduro. That 3, Maduro is bad at governing Venezuela. And that 4...
If that's a reason to invade, I got quite a list of...
Are any of these a reason to invade?
No, they aren't. This is taunting the reader. It's basically like, you're a stupid fat fuck. I'm going to give you the most ridiculous column.
Yeah,
see what you do.
Condescending to the reader. But unfortunately, I think a lot of these, elite liberal types that read the New York Times probably are like, no, this was...
They don't feel condescended to?
I don't think they do. I think they're like, this is the kind of sensible stuff. It's elevated enough to not feel like drivel, but not academic. So I feel like it's actually sensible and grounded in reality. So I vibe with this. I think that's what...
Oh, he's bad at governing the Venezuelans. Let's exterminate them.
And then 4, while there is a risk the invasion will plunge the country into a catastrophic quagmire, quote, we can learn from our past mistakes. Apparently not, Stephens.
Which ones have we learned from?
Stephens does not even attempt to answer 2 of the most obvious questions that should face an advocate of aggressive war. Namely, quote, what right does the U.S. have to overthrow a sovereign nation? And, quote, do other countries also have the right to overthrow any government whose actions negatively affect their perceived national interests? Good questions, Robinson. What vital interest does the U.S. have in overthrowing the government of Venezuela? Stephens doesn't actually press too hard on the justification offered by the Trump administration that Maduro is some kind of international drug kingpin. Indeed, as my colleague Alex explains, even the U.S. government's own analysis have not identified Venezuela as a top exporter of illegal drugs to the U.S. Stephens does link to a report by the State Department funded Inside Crime, but the report actually refutes the claim that Maduro operates as a ringleader of the country's drug trafficking, portraying him instead as trying to carefully maintain power while dealing with the reality of powerful drug traders existing within the country.
So he's referencing something that actually disproves that Maduro is running a criminal drug ring.
So this is the actual difference between the liberals and the MAGA. So liberals were doing them a favor. This is for...
he's not a liberal. He's a conservative columnist.
Yeah, but
he's a
neoliberal.
Yes.
In the liberal blob, and they wanted to tell
he's a neoconservative, which puts him in the neoliberal blob.
Yeah, I mean, and, MAGA kind of flipped all this stuff on its head a little bit, but yeah. So they want to tell you that this is an act of charity, an act of benevolence, right? They want to tell you why you don't have to feel guilty about it. The Trump thing is, I don't give a shit of whether it's charity or not. What's good for America is what we should do, and it's bad for them. It's bad for America to have drugs. It's also bad for America to have drug treatment, but we won't talk about that. It's bad for America to have drugs. Therefore, we're perfectly justified in stopping drugs. So all I have to do is convince you that Venezuela is the source of the drugs, and it doesn't matter what happens to Venezuelans. Whereas the liberals are going to feel bad about it. So you have to make them feel like they're doing something good for the world at large by doing this. And that's the dichotomy. So this is, so blah, blah, blah. But basically, he touches on this drug kingpin thing, but he really isn't, his heart's not in it. He gives a link that's not really that good, and he moves on very quickly. Robinson says, probably sensing how weak this argument is, Stevens mentions it only in passing. Instead, his main accusation against Maduro is that he is, quote, an importer and exporter of instability, right? So we're making the world a better place. It's not for America. It's not for, because we want the oil, which I'm surprised Trump hasn't just come out and said, we just want the oil.
Yeah.
It's not for stopping the drugs and protecting Americans' health. It's because the world is in danger by the instability.
Even that's weak. An exporter of instability is the best they've got.
What is instability? Well, as is often the case of U.S. propaganda discourse, a, quote, stable country is one that's favorable to the U.S., while a, quote, unstable country is one that contradicts or opposes U.S. leaders even in the smallest ways. Stevens is open about this. Maduro is a, quote, importer of instability because, quote, the regime's close economic and strategic ties to China, Russia, and Iran give America's enemies significant foothold in the Americas.
Okay.
So that's pretty pro-American, I guess. As usual, it helps to ask the question, how would this argument sound if any other country used it? Imagine China saying Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan were, quote, importers of instability because their ties to the U.S. gave America a, quote, significant foothold in Asia. Would this justify a Chinese invasion of these countries?
I mean, I feel like we're getting close to that too, but yeah.
Yeah. Or would we see that as blatant aggression? We certainly
would. Of course we would. But I feel like that these are the rules we're playing by now. But
as for, quote, exporting instability, what is that? Well, Stevens cites the number of Venezuelans who have emigrated, millions over the last 10 years, almost a fifth of the population, as proof that the country is being governed poorly and we may, therefore, legitimately overthrow its government. He says that we have a, quote, moral right to invade Venezuela's government.
Do you know, I have a solution for that. They're worried about the exodus from Venezuela.
Mm-hmm.
Stop sanctioning the economy.
Yeah, maybe allow the economy to function.
Because that's why people are leaving.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's that combined with a economic problem that was created by creating a petrostate. Like Chavez had a chance to build
I know
a real economy that made things, and instead they built a petrostate that was completely at the mercy of the international oil trade.
they
So
did.
now there is no.
It ran its course.
Why would Venezuela be importing almost all of its food? That's insane.
It is insane. But it's not just that the petrostate has run its course. It's also that Venezuela is being highly penalized by the United States and the West, and it's making people's living conditions unbearable in Venezuela.
Yeah, and like people like Machado, who's the one who won the Nobel Peace Prize, who's the leader.
Yes, that peaceful woman.
Yes, the very peaceful woman
who is entirely in favor of this war, and maybe ghost wrote this for Bret Stephens.
She just published a new constitution that she wants to impose. But anyway, or like the early work of one.
Her single-handedly writing a constitution as a rich heiress who said she comes from a very privileged family that has been like mad about Venezuelan politics for like decades and decades and decades. Mm-hmm. And it's so cringy for her to publish a constitution when the constitution itself, and I don't want to be all woo-woo, yay, Hugo Chavez, but that was a win. The constitution in Venezuela was literally written democratically by the people.
Yeah.
Like, illiterate peasants contributed to that constitution.
Yeah.
And Machado would like to do her own constitution instead.
Yeah.
That's cute.
So, yeah. Machado has always been in favor of the sanctions because they understand that the worse things get in Venezuela, the less popular support there will be.
Can you imagine how slimy that is? As an independently wealthy family, being in favor of your own country, being economically sanctioned by a world superpower, so much so that people are starving.
Yeah, because your main political objective is to denationalize the oil.
I just think we should probably give her a Nobel Peace Prize.
But my point is, these scum always exist. U.S. meddling was always going to happen. They were going to take advantage of every opportunity that was given to them. And if it wasn't Machado, it'd be some other nutcase who would be support destroying the economies just so that they could get their greedy hands on the oil because they don't have enough money.
Sure.
The responsibility to the Bolivarian Revolution was to do something to forestall these efforts. And they failed. They just failed to do that. They didn't recreate the state. They created all these like parallel institutions when the state wouldn't do what they wanted it to do. They didn't take that money and invest it in building an economy that could survive on its own. They spent that money on social programs, and the social programs were important. And they increased literacy, they increased healthcare, but they didn't increase, domestic agriculture. They didn't increase domestic production. You have to do these things, or you're not going to be able. This should be impossible. There's no reason why a U.S. sanction should do this much damage to a country. And those are all you can't.
Oh, well, especially a country that is as resource rich as Venezuela.
Correct. So my point is that if you're fighting a war against the enemy, at some point you have to take some responsibility for the missteps that allowed the enemy to do this much damage.
Yeah.
Because the enemy's going to do whatever they can do to do damage.
Yeah. And I think, Chavez didn't do enough. And it's not just because Chavez died, now we have Maduro, that we're in this pickle. Maduro is obviously not as beloved or as charismatic as Chavez, but the reason this has gotten so dire is because oil is no longer as stable as an economic energy source than it was. Yeah. And Venezuela and Chavez rode as long as they could what they were doing. Yeah. And it hasn't fallen apart because he's died. It hit its expiration date.
Well, I wonder what would have happened if Chavez had lived when oil prices fell apart, whether he remained as popular, whether he would have had to resort to some of these authoritarian things that Maduro has done. Maduro, after the last election, and everyone believed that he'd stolen it, there was a lot of protests funded probably by these right-wing crazy people, and they busted ahead. They sent in the military and the police and busted people's heads open.
They did. Although those were,
you do that when you have the political upper hand to the organizers of those things. You don't do it later down the line to the regular people in the streets. You go after Machado. Yeah. When you have the upper hand, you say these people cannot be allowed to run around. Their wealth needs to be taken, and they need to go to jail, or they need to get in line.
I mean, I think that's one of the biggest criticisms of Chavez is not just that he didn't plan ahead and diversify his petro state, but is that he just let these people be. He just let everyone be.
That has actually gotten a lot of praise from people who wanted not the Soviet Union model for socialism, which is look how nice they are. This is what being nice to these people gets you.
I mean,
they will starve every person in the country if they have to get the oil.
It's gotten some praise. Notably, he never got the Peace Prize, but
I mean, he's got praise from the left. This is 21st century socialism.
Yes. And I was in a lot of groups that were praising that 10 years ago, and I can't imagine
crickets now.
Yeah. Yep. I can't imagine anyone saying
whoops. All right.
Back to Nathan Robinson.
Yes. So he says we have a moral right to invade because Venezuela's government produces misery for its people. He does not cite any polling of Venezuela's people to show that they support U.S. attacks, since the opinions of the population are irrelevant to whether we should liberate.
I think he should just ask Thomas Friedman. Thomas,
go take a taxi and
take it. No, don't even. Just close your eyes. Imagine you're a Venezuelan person. Now, how do you feel?
A potential future a pro-American Venezuelan leader. It's oh man, yeah. I was also reading a Washington Post editorial about this, and it was it only took 20 years for socialism to completely destroy the country, and I was Jesus Christ,
what does that even?
That was the editorial board. I was an outside person.
It was probably Jeff Bezos.
It says a lot about the state of discourse in the United States that in a liberal newspaper, the quote paper of record, a columnist does not feel the need to provide any legal justification for waging war against another country. And this is something I think is notable.
That's dead, though. Legal justification of war is so dead at this point?
The
I mean, we've
the
barely had
international
one for the
order-
last 2 decades, and then we had a genocide in Gaza. That every single major international body that was meant to govern these things was able to do nothing. So I think all of that's just so dead.
It is dead. I agree with you completely. And that's, I think, one of the signs that liberalism is not coming back, which is you don't put that back in the bottle. I think that this like international order that they had built in the years after World War II, that was, we have the UN to govern international disputes and stuff. The United States has always been fast and loose with that because they understood that they had the power to get away with stuff. But there was always this fig leaf of respect for international law, or at least some sort of international order with agreed upon norms. And I think it's interesting that it's not even in the discourse. Nathan Robinson's the only one bringing this up. I don't think anyone's ever. No one expects Trump to give any pause at all to what U.S. law says about what he can do in Venezuela, much less what international law says.
And I do think like 2 decades ago, I mean, maybe not. We can go back to the Iraq War, although I do think it was there. There was at least a nod to both the just war theory, which is like the morality of war. It was part of the discourse, but certainly talking about like the military necessity of the. I mean, it was weapons of mass destruction. That's the military necessity. That's giving you the international law reason to go to war.
And I distinctly remember them trying to make that case in front of the UN because they still felt that at least it was better to try to get the UN on board as opposed to going it alone.
Right.
But there's no, that's completely gone now. There's nothing of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing for Trump to not make a single nod to it, but for the liberal paper of record to spend word count on a bullshit op-ed about going to war and then not even 1 to 2 sentences on a reason that sort of justifies a war, either legally or morally.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the moral argument is that Maduro's bad at governing.
The moral argument is
it's almost like he's watered down his own argument to be like, I don't have to prove anything to you.
Yeah. Well, it feels like the big obstacle to this, they believe, will be U.S. reaction. A lot of people, including Trump voters, do not want war. They don't want it. They don't want to see it anymore. They don't want people to go dead. They don't want to pay for it. They don't want to hear about conflict and feel that the world is falling apart.
Bret Stephens has done a shitty job being convincing.
His job is to convince a very small group of people to lean into that voice in their head that says, why shouldn't we? It would be so easy. And it was good for everyone. Like, what? Like, I don't like Trump, but why shouldn't we? I mean, no one likes this guy anyway. Why shouldn't we? That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to leave with an impression that, like, all things being equal, I guess I'm not going to be that upset about it.
Until the aircraft carrier sinks itself.
Oh, well, maybe that might happen anyway. Yeah. And, and there'll be something else for the rabble. We'll have to have a different thing that tells them that
y'all should cancel your subscriptions.
Yeah.
Is that a boycott? Have the workers called it?
Yeah. No, good point. These people are scum. I mean, they're literally going to do exactly the same thing again, but this time in support of Trump. They're gonna support a war like this.
They have a very tried and true playbook. I don't know why you'd expect them to do anything else.
They don't have any credibility at all at this point, in my opinion. I'm surprised anyone even reads this stuff anymore.
Well, there has been a death. There's been a death in traditional media, and if you want to read more about that, I did write about it. I mean, it certainly doesn't have the readership it used to have. Like you said, this is convincing the smallest sliver of the populations that this is a war that's good for them.
Yeah, I mean, it's a section that is more influential than its numbers, but
it used to be more influential, like back in the time of Epstein, when those New York really buzzing.
It was clubby.
It was so clubby and influential, and all those people had power. But we've lost that time.
Yeah, wokeness stole it from us.
What else does Nathan have to say for himself? Anything?
Stephens is not only producing propaganda for criminal war aggression, but like you said, he's barely putting in any effort. His assurances that the risk is worth it fail to take seriously the disasters that can occur after deposing a foreign government with no day after plan. And he doesn't explain why we should invade Venezuela, but not other dictatorial countries. If we care about stopping countries that abuse human rights, we should invade Israel and Saudi Arabia. If we care about stopping, damn, chill, bro. Chill,
Here.
invade Israel. If we care about stopping the flow of refugees, we should have boots on the ground in Sudan. Why is Venezuela being singled out for attack? And that's the thing that everyone knows. Everyone who's reading this knows is that there's ulterior motives here, and all those ulterior motives probably are going to be good for them.
How is this good for Americans?
It's not good for Americans. It's good for upper middle class readers of the New York Times.
Ah.
And they probably all say, I will probably get a taste of that oil money. Somehow.
I'm sure.
My stock portfolio will go up. Some way this is gonna trickle down to me. What?
I'm sure Brett would not lead me astray, is what
Yeah.
they're thinking.
So all I need is someone to tell me why I don't have to feel guilty about that.
Someone needs to tell me why Trump isn't wrong on this one.
Yeah, this particular one.
I mean, but why so little effort?
Because there's no argument.
It's like it's
How do you answer the question? Why is there not military intervention in Sudan right now? How could anyone possibly answer that question?
I know, but it's almost like, you could write something and make shit up, which of course they are familiar with doing. But instead you're going to write something. It's almost like putting it into ChatGPT and saying, can you please make a case for war against Venezuela, but please make sure that there's no just war theory and there's no international war reasoning.
Yeah. Just
make sure you say nothing about the actual reasoning in any of the frameworks we've all agreed upon are the reasons you go to war. Yeah. Honestly, it feels deliberate. It feels like I don't have to do that anymore. Like, fuck you. I don't do it.
You don't have to either. Yeah. You don't even have to think through it anymore, which is kind of what the MAGA movement's all about. Is like, you don't have to think these things through anymore. These blowing up of the boats they're doing, they're doing snuff porn on the official White House social media accounts, because this is for the yuppies. That is for the rabble. Is you're gonna feel really cool by watching all these super weapons we have blow up fishing boats. Well, you don't exactly. You're gonna vicariously feel powerful and feel sort of self-assured.
You don't
confident.
Exactly need a super weapon to blow up a fishing boat.
No, but that's the thing. You don't need it, and we're gonna do it anyway. We're gonna spend $5 million on a cruise missile and stick it in the motor of a speedboat.
Or we're going to tell the rabble it was a $5 billion cruise missile and it was really a fucking firework.
Yeah.
And you guys are too stupid to know the difference.
Yeah. I mean, if I had to guess, I would guess that this is all a negotiation tactic. That Trump believes that if he is maximally aggressive,
he does like a deal.
Maduro will cut a deal, because he simultaneously announced that he had opened back channels to the Maduro government because he wants to make a deal. And there is not going to be an invasion. There will be crazy shit he does that will make it seem like they're very, very, very serious about it. And it will become clear and clear to Maduro that the only way that he'll survive is to make a deal with the United States and cut out China. And we'll see if he gets...
They shouldn't do it.
I mean, obviously they as a people shouldn't do it, but is Maduro willing to end up like Saddam Hussein?
I don't know.
I doubt it.
They have existing relationships with China. I would not fuck with those.
I mean, China is not going to get militarily involved. And that's part of the power play here, is to recognize that, like, when you're maximally aggressive like this, everyone else goes, whoa, I'm not willing to risk a nuclear war over Venezuela. And I think they'll play this card a few times before they can't play it anymore. I mean, it's the same card that Russia played in Ukraine.
Yeah.
This is crazy, you're doing this. But the crazier you are, the more everyone's like, look, I'm not going to play with this. I don't need this.
I know that guy. I know that guy.
Yep. And that's a legitimate, it's not stupid, I guess. It's horrifying, but it's not stupid. It is a kind of nuclear brinksmanship, which the consequences of are horrific. But if there is a war, Stevens, there will not be a peaceful transition, or we will not learn our lessons. There will be a gaping hole in government, which will be filled by all the cartels which aren't in power now.
Right.
There will be mass death and starvation. There'll be a huge immigration crisis. There will be a lot of dead U.S. soldiers. The Venezuelan military is not nothing. They're at least as sophisticated as Iraq are, and probably more so.
Yeah.
What they have staged now is not enough to conquer the country. They'll have to put a lot more there. So it's going to cost a fortune. It's going to create a bloodbath. A lot of people are going to die on both sides. There'll be a huge immigration crisis. There'll be a much worse drug problem. And yeah, I guess at the end of the day, maybe they'll get to the oil, but that didn't really work out in Iraq either. So what lesson did he learn here?
I don't think Bret Stephens is bothered by that.
No?
No, I think that you'd be disrupting his morning coffee if you pointed that out.
Yeah. I mean, to pretend you care about the people there, so what? You're gonna do this? You think that, the agricultural sector is gonna grow by leaps and bounds during a war with the United States? Are you insane?
I think if you put a rich corporate heiress in charge, obviously she'll care about getting the people food.
Yeah. Right after she pays herself a lot of money. Although in Maduro apparently is paying himself a lot of money too. He's got apparently a huge bank account.
We're clearly not a Maduro fan club, but I can tell you right now that there is not anyone that Machado does not have the interest of her people. Bret Stephens doesn't want to even spend enough time on writing this op-ed that he could possibly trip over the actual human experience in Venezuela accidentally on his way of making his terrible case for war.
Yeah.
I mean, you can read these things and forget that you're talking about people.
Yeah. People who have to raise their kids and go to the grocery store.
And military families that will have people deployed from their homes in Venezuela over what? Maybe oil?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Yeah. This is why the liberals are better at managing empires, is they don't do boondoggles like this. Bush blew it by doing that. It's a huge albatross around the neck of the United States now. At the time, it was a huge amount of money that went to nothing. And the liberals are much smarter about this. They do this shit as much as they can get away with. But I think that the thing is that all that we'll push it up to this line and we'll go no further because it starts to become counterproductive. So we'll do all these things and maybe we'll get lucky. We'll get lucky, and Euromaidan and Ukraine was an example of that. Is we'll fuck around and maybe get lucky and we get the government on our side. So maybe there was a chance Machado could have gotten in there. You fuck around, maybe get lucky. Unless the world starts to degenerate and you really fucking need that oil. It's no longer a nice to have. It becomes we actually need it. And then the logic of this is fascism. The logic of liberalism, which is we will do our best without going across this line, becomes the lines don't matter. We need the oil, period. So we're going to do what it takes. That's what fascism is.
Well, but I have no faith that
it's not going to work out well. But my point is that the alternatives for the capitalist
I get that
preclude the smart choices. So all that's left is dumb choices.
I think in this case, we have all is left is risky, horrifying choices. This is not a leadership group that actually has very much administrative expertise. So they could, in fact, boondoggle.
Nice.
They could, in fact, go with the sort of bloodbath version, which is justified, which has a material justification. The material justification is the oil. And they could be very honest about that. We need the oil. And then they could still manage to fuck it up and not get the oil because they don't actually know how to, art of war their way through this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways. All right.
Anyways, we agree with Nathan Robinson. If you are an editor at the New York Times, you need to resign immediately. You are a disgrace. You've made the paper a laughingstock. You have no principles whatsoever.
Pack your bags and go.
If you're going to publish stuff like this, at least force them to make it compelling or interesting. I mean, what are you doing? Yep. This is what you went to journalism school for?
Yeah, really.
Just resign. Just resign. Let someone else do it. If you're not interested in doing it, just let someone else
While we're at it, Bret Stephens, you could resign too.
Yeah, you definitely resign.
Thomas Friedman think it's time to retire.
Why would you platform these people? They have nothing to say at all.
Perhaps if you're a subscriber, you do want to cancel and get a Current Affairs subscription. Current Affairs is a great publication.
Yeah, I'll give you. You get a free one to the Red Time.
Show us your proof that you've canceled New York Times, and we'll give you a gratis
a year-long gratis Red Time Propel subscription. There you go.
There you go. All right.
As you grow
Done and
old,
dusted?
Yep.
you're
Bye.
on the
Bye.
weak, and you don't do regret. You're always out for what you can get. You think like a snake, and you ooze like a snail. Let the trail go cold as you swallow your tail. With your low rent skills and your heart of flint, telling your tales that are unfit to print. You're all weasel words, backed up by the boots, obsessed like the rest, with a promise of loot. Your pies will fade as you grow old. 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 You demand of the sea, it obey your commands. You grab at the land with both of your hands. But candles will burn, and time will reveal all that you've done and the money you steal. The suffering you're causing gives you no pause for thought. You've got your claws in the dead summer's heart. Birds will return, as the birds always do. When they come home to roost, they'll feast on you. Your pies will fade as you grow old. Your pies will fade as you grow old. Your pies will fade.